There you are, Aquarius. Great to see you. Great to see you, and welcome, Aquarius, because this is your Aquarius April 2021 reading and forecast with lots of prediction and interesting things to do with the tarot, which brings in astrology and a whole lot of other things. Great to see the subscribers back again. Much love and affection to you. Always love seeing you. Thanks very much for joining me each month. It's a pleasure to meet you. We have the best fun here, don't we? It's interesting here, it's different, it's good, and we enjoy ourselves. And today you've got a few audience members who have come in and promised to be quiet while they see how tarot readings are done. This is after our mystical teaching session. So we shall see what there is. Now this deck, you probably haven't seen this before. In fact, I hadn't seen it before either. It was given to me by a former lover. And which is what unusually in how these things tend to go. She and I have remained friends. This is before I had children. And so we've continued a very good platonic relationship. She also happens to be a witch. And when she gave the cards to me, they were wrapped in rope. Because for those who are in the know and the mystics, the tradition has always been 4 centuries to wrap tarot cards in string or in rope before handing it over to somebody. So now you are in the know as well. And when the next time you give a deck to somebody, then that is what happens. The tradition also is that you should receive your own decks as gifts by other people. Now, I don't stick strictly to that, but it's always better to get it from somebody else, because then, like this, they come with love and affection. Now, of course, I've had the great pleasure to do one-on-one clairvoyant readings for a number of you over the course of the last month. And if you would like to have a one-on-one reading with me over Skype or FaceTime, just check out the information which is in the description box below, and you can see how easy it is for that to happen from wherever you may be in the world. But now we're going to deal with these 5 cards for you to see what is in store for you. She told me that this was a very difficult deck, and I have to tell you, it was. It took me a lot of time. There's the Fool. For me to take each card individually, and I spent hours letting it infuse into my consciousness, and finally it has done so. There's the 7 of Pentacles, incidentally. Well, that's a nice card, whatever that is. Justice. Excellent. Yeah, beautiful, interesting. So now you're going to get to look at this fascinating deck that you probably haven't seen elsewhere in the billions of people, apparently, who do tarot readings on the internet each month. And good luck to everybody, and I hope everyone does well. And see what this has to say. The final card, shall we? Let's have a look. There's the 9 of Wands. That's great. Okay. Why don't you come, sit down next to me, let's look at the artwork together. You can look over my shoulder, and I'll tell you what's in store for this month. Okay, here we go. Now, it's so good that you've drawn this Fool first, because this, the Fool, is the one who walks without fear. And he's here to tell you not to worry about things. There's a couple of cards here which say, oh, you might be worried about things. Now, it all gets resolved, of course, and you overcome them, but there's a process that's involved in getting through here. Let's have a look at some of the imagery on this card and see all the symbology, really more. That's why this is so difficult for people to read. Now here's the symbol for air here, and this is a Hebrew letter Aleph. It's like 2 commas, inverted commas, that are separated by a diagonal line. What first might I say about that Hebrew letter? How might you interpret a Hebrew letter? Well, if you can imagine the divine as and it's impossible to imagine the divine, but let's metaphorically say it just consists of pure light and consists of all pure information of everything that has been, is, will be, that is possible, and information about things that even aren't possible. Then let's use a Hebrew biblical letter to act as the lens or the projector through which that light can come through, we then see some scenery come up on like a cinema screen. And this Aleph, incidentally, I would have also the planet of Uranus associated with this, and if I were to associate a sign with it, I'd say not one sign, but the zodiac as a whole for the Fool. But looking at this thing, Aleph, it's the first letter of the Hebrew biblical alphabet and signifies the number 1. Aleph indicates the oneness and unity of the Creator. It hints that beyond the illusion of separation and duality, because when we descend into matter, before we were one, we then descend into matter, and then there is an illusion of separation. Well, this says that beyond that delusion or illusion of duality is underlying oneness, that nothing is separate and the Creator is the source of everything. Aleph represents the creation of something from nothing. It is the essential symbol of beginnings and ultimate reality that can't really be talked about because we don't have the concepts, we don't have the brain space to do it. But other than we know that it is timeless, spaceless, and present everywhere. It is the one that cannot be divided, and it represents perfection beyond human comprehension. Now, what this is saying for you now is that this is a time, despite what some of these worries might be here, that you should remain open and trust and be ready to take a risk. Have the courage to stand your ground, because you do have freedom and independence and creativity, and this talks about great potential. There may also be the possibility to take a sort of a quantum leap. And it's particularly important to listen to the heart's voice at the present time and be in the present, because there's new beginnings coming along here, and it's a time when you'll be acting without malice. And the Fool represents the god of spring, Dionysus, as well. So it's new beginnings, green, new beginnings coming up. There is therefore the start of something new and spontaneous, the beginning of a journey into the unknown, which is full of great potential for you. There is a need for you to take a leap, though. Move away from these. I'll read these together when we get to them. To take a leap that's not of faith, but with the inner confidence that you're going to be okay. Open up your life and have faith that you can create what you want. Now, you may also be wanting to break free of the usual routines of life, but look upon life as the Fool does and be empty again, almost like a child. This is moving towards wholeness for you and re-owning that courage and strength and that intellect that's within you. You are ready for a new beginning, perhaps, as I say, even a quantum leap. Give in, dare to take the leap. Even if fear and worry holds you back, trust the voice from within your heart. Now, what is the fear that is within you? How do you imagine it looks like? Where does your heart really call you to go? And say to yourself, I now follow my heart. I am open and ready to go wherever it may lead me. I am a radiant being. I am a living treasure. I honor and value the unlimited resource of courage which is within me. I respect the nature of who I am. There is nothing to fear. Okay, now as I say, this is sitting on top of that. This is underpinned by this Nine of Wands, and of course both of them are intersected by this Justice card. But in any event, let's have a look at them for a change, side by side, and see what they might have to say to you. Let's just go through them analytically and also using a little bit of spiritual insight. Now the first one here is Mercury. Mercury in the first decan of Taurus. Well, the speed and the fluidity of Mercury is weighed down by slow, heavy Taurus here, and this means that there could well be brooding or pessimism, even survival fears, for God's sake. That's ridiculous. So this is worry, you know. Worry drives you crazy. And this one here is Saturn in Taurus. Again, this time it's in the third decan of Taurus, that 11th to the 20th of May, I guess. So Saturn is the slow-moving and restrictive planet, and Taurus, of course, is a plodding, fixed earth sign. And together, these things might give you a feeling of stagnation. Now, what this could mean is there could well be delays in payments, or that you should be looking for long-term results. Actually, look, you may not be seeing growth next week, but there is slow, steady growth occurring here. You may need to wait for some money to come through, or you may be working through a dry spell. And really, your ability to deal with things may be being blocked by dire and fearful expectations. But remember what the Fool said. The Fool said, I'm aware that these things are here. I'm aware that you have got this concern. And there's other messages coming from Justice and from the Nine of Wands. So step back and analyze things, because it's not the end of the world. And again, you know, along the same theme, this one with Mercury in Taurus here, well, I've got the feeling that there's been, that the things that you're ruminating over have been going on for some time, and perhaps you haven't really dealt with it. You might be saying to yourself, am I getting myself into a situation that I might not be able to get out of? Will events overwhelm me? It's worry. It's worry about the past and the future, neither of which we can do anything about, incidentally. In the past and the future, they don't exist. The only thing that exists is now. This card, of course, was emphatic. This is major arcana. These are minor arcana. It says, don't worry. The divinity has got your back. That's what the Aleph, the Hebrew symbol, is saying. There may be something that you feel poses a threat to your security, and that's the influence of Taurus in both of these cards. But I think what happens here is when you've drawn them, you are ready to look at your situation as it is. You now have an opportunity to free yourself by initiating the necessary discussion either with other people or with yourself, because only clear and open communication will facilitate progress. In what areas or situations are you not clear and decisive enough, with which people do need to clarify things? Because there is a suggestion here that your ability to deal with things is being blocked by heavy and fearful expectations. Now what you need to do is to really look at their content and their quality carefully and really say to yourself, is it really real? I know that whenever I've been worried about something or I've been concerned about something, it has never turned out like I imagined it was going to be. So what areas of your life are you worried about? Write a complete list of what your worst expectations are, and then take a new piece of paper and change each fear into its positive opposite. And then keep working with these lists. Change them when necessary and decide consciously. Look for someone who might support you in this. And say to yourself at this time, I have the courage to believe that all that happens in my life serves for the best. I am willing to release all that is not serving me in my life. I am now taking action to get on with my life. Gee, I'm sorry about that, because in some respect those cards there were sounding a little bit like a school teacher, weren't they? It's certainly not my intention that they do that, but obviously there's the message that's there for you, and it's for your good. But look, here comes the cavalry to the rescue, you see, because this is the Lord of great strength. Now let's have a look at it. What do we have here symbolically? We have the moon in Sagittarius. Well, I'd say that's the second decan of Sagittarius. You know how each sign in the zodiac has 30 degrees? Well, each sign is also divided into 3 decans of 10 degrees each. The first is the cardinal, the second is the fixed decan, and the third is the mutable or changeable decan. Well, this is the moon ruling the second or fixed decan of Sagittarius, in my way of thinking. And with the number 9 here, I have a mystical association with the moon as well. So we have a double lunar influence in the numerology and in the card as the developer has put it together. Because the moon is ruling both the decan of Sagittarius and the numerology there. I think what this means is that you were at something of a, this is talking about power gained through unifying conscious and unconscious. That's the aspect of the moon for me, the unconscious energy, the unconscious will and smarts and intellect that's simmering away beneath you. There's a wholeness here. You'll have a determination to move on. You'll have strength of character. You will have great courage under fire, and you will be defending what you have worked for and a great belief in yourself. Now, when the unconscious becomes visible, you are faced with many things you have covered up in order to avoid looking at them, perhaps. This can produce a fear of sort in itself, the fear of feeling painful wounds you've covered up and hoped to forget. There may also simply be fear of your own yet unproven strength, which reaches into all areas of your life, reorganizing them. And this budding self-realization, I think, allows no return to the familiar situation of weakness and ignorance. So you will at this time, I think, reach deep into yourself and find new depths of strength and power that you never thought you had. Now, you may encounter obstacles, of course, but the point is that you'll have the strength to overcome them. Now, when this card here turns up in this position, next to Justice, and with the Fool like that, in this diagonal line like that, in my system of reading, you can be reassured that you have what it takes to get by, even in times of difficulty and stress. Inner strength is going to rise up and guide you towards your goal. And now in the process, I think you'll learn more about yourself and your abilities, gaining a new all-round perspective, which brings you security and self-confidence. You are in the process, I think, of discovering your real strength, so trust your inner guide. You may want to take part in groups which can help you develop and unfold your potential, or just talk about things. Are you a little afraid of your own strength? In what areas in your life does this fear come up? Say to yourself, though, I know more and more clearly who I am. This recognition leads to the full development of my potential strength. So you've got this. You've got this. You can get through anything here. Now let's have a look at the major arcana that's in the middle here, shall we? Who is this, by the way? It is Justice. Okay, Justice. Who are you here? Well, the sign of Libra. There is a biblical Hebrew letter there, which is Lamed. I'll talk about that in a moment. The sign of Libra, the scales of Libra, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. She is the daughter of the Lords of Truth, the ruler of the balance. Now, this is Venus ruling Libra with Saturn exalted. Now, Libra emphasizes that the energy of this card is about balance and equilibrium. It's about karmic cause and effect, and about bringing a situation back into balance. It's justice, adjusting things around your environment and around the way you do things and how you deal with people. the suspension of action pending sensible decisions, I think, and objectivity really for you, so standing back and looking at things. There's a balancing of opposites going on here as well. This biblical Hebrew letter that you see there, well, that is Lamed. I think, as I mentioned, it's the 12th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It is you see, it's sort of undulating, isn't it? It sort of reaches up into the sky. Well, that's the 12th letter of the biblical Hebrew alphabet, and it is the symbol of learning. Now, it's translated literally as the word for learning, but also for a staff or a goad that you'd poke cattle with. You know, one of those sticks that you might poke cattle with. It also represents the heart. And understand that spiritual learning takes place generally with the heart, not just the mind. It indicates really that the spiritual learning is the heart of human existence, and your course in life is to learn and express spiritual teachings and practice with every breath of life. Now, I mean, I just happen to know, I mentioned this thing squiggles up into the air and pokes right up. Well, it reaches up higher than any of the other Hebrew letters, almost like a lighthouse high up in the air. The shape is undulating, and it represents constant organic movement, constant change. It is the lightning strike of energy descending down the two sides of the tree of life in the Kabbalistic teaching. It teaches you to learn from everything in life. And after you have governed your tendencies towards material things, and you no longer have the blockages of the ego interfering, you can begin to learn the spiritual perfection of yourself, because you are spiritually perfect, and learn the will and ways of the Creator. This is the process of learning to align with the will of the Creator, really. Now, in a sense, this is really, I think, a summons for you to avoid all extremities in your daily life, all extreme behavior. Now, this could refer to emotional disturbances in relationships, or at work, in some creative activity, or in dealing with money. Total centeredness and inner balance are needed if the great new ideas arising now are to bear fruit, because from a position of balance, everything develops in a balanced way, in its place, given its appropriate value. The storms of life, as you know, throw us out of balance again and again. The constant change between being centered and uncentered, well, that's the process that teaches us to be more conscious from moment to moment, doesn't it? In order to retain that inner peace and clarity when we find it. I think there's a period here where, you know, dealing with those other pentacle cards that we were looking at there, it's time for you to take a stock of your life and to see what is useful and what is to be let go. Think clearly about life ahead and be aware that all actions have consequences. I think you will be, however, and particularly after this card and this card with the endurance and overcoming these things here, I think you will be getting a clear vision of possibilities and choices ahead of you and applying your insights that you've gained so far so that your life can come back into balance. I think you might also be following your true path and what gives it the most meaning. Now, I'd ask you to pay attention to what situations in your daily life tend to throw you off balance, therefore, and discover the conditions under which you might find harmony again, and carry this quality with you more and more as you move through your daily activities. And say to yourself, I am balanced and centered. I honor my word. I value being truthful, even in difficult situations. The abundance and beauty of nature is a reflection of my own nature. I am at rest in myself. I have the divine on my side. That's it for you this month. Well, it was my pleasure and privilege to provide that reading for you. Isn't it interesting, the things that come through with tarot cards? You know how one card can have so many things that it wants to get across to you. It never ceases to amaze me, and I'm confident that you will have enjoyed it as well. Look, and if you do enjoy it, please do me the favour and hit the like button. Apparently, it does things for the YouTube gods, and it would help more people see what we ourselves enjoy. But listen, in the meantime, though, there's one thing that I want you to remember, and to remember it always, and that is this: that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.